So in order to become a successful trader, you have to be 10 steps ahead of the market. Now, how does one become 10 steps ahead of the markets? Well, in order for you to do that, you have to prepare ahead. Preparing ahead allows you to have different set of rules and a different set of circumstances on what you can do under each scenario. Now, for many, this may seem as complicated task, but as your mentor, I can show you exactly how the StockX mentorship program has the tools and the information necessary to help you become successful. If you guys have been watching our Twitter feed, our social media, or if you are in our Discord, you know exactly that we had a perfect day today where we ended the day off green because we knew exactly where the market was headed and what to do in under each scenario. So in today's session, we're going to be talking about the trades that we have taken, but more importantly, we're going to showcase on how we set up our day and discuss the details behind each trade that we took and why we took it and so forth. So let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the news, let's talk about the gamma reports, and let's talk about what happened in the market for today. So as you guys can see right over here, we had a very choppy session in today's market here. So pretty much the S&P 500 topped off. It started over here. Sorry, this was the start of the day. Started over here. This is on a 30-minute chart. It started over here, dumped here, and then went back up. So choppy day and a day setup reversal. So what do we do today? If we go over the war room, so our war room is literally the first report that our members received. So in today's report that we discussed about, that we said that the futures were muted at that time. It was trading in between that range, and I said that there's a large possibility and likelihood of chop pretty much between the put gamma and the call gamma that we see. So there's a difference between chop and sideways. Chop means is that you can see a reversal happen at any time. The chop can be a large range. It also can be a very short range as well. But today was a perfect example of a large range chop. That doesn't necessarily mean it's sideways, which means that pretty much it's a flat market. Today was a purely chop market where we've seen both upside and downside in this entirety of the market. So I mentioned here that SPX needs to stay above 5480 to stay strong, and under 5450 it's possible to crater here. Okay, so I said that it's possible to chop here. My range was very limited, but it actually ended up being larger. I said be ready to trade both sides and focus on scalps today. The key news for today that pretty much moved the market was the Bank of Japan, and they pretty much mentioned that they're likely to hike rates, which affects the carry trade issue. We talked about GS extensively in our morning call, and they gave a guide down. So there was also a risk that we would have seen basically issues with that. So that's very important to know here, okay? Because this was an underlying issue that affect banks. Apple had a problem too, but we pretty much didn't touch that, okay? Now, these levels are time-stamped. You can see 8 a.m., 8 a.m. So our first inflection point is at 54.94, okay? So I really want to highlight that as well, because our level 1 bullish, what does that mean? So if you go into our model over here and you want to understand our terminology, every level that we provide has a meaning to it, okay? It's not like most services where they say this is a support or resistance. No, we read premiums, okay? And we're going to discuss this in great detail on what these premiums mean. So level 1 is basically the gatekeeper. This level identifies as a crucial threshold that determines the market direction. Basically, level 1 bullish is the top of the chop range. So if you can't break through that and you think this is the top of the chop range because you believe it's a choppy market, this is a great area to short. And usually within the first 30 minutes of the market, this here is the best area to short, and same goes otherwise. If it's a level 1 bearish, that's where it is. Level 2 confirms the trend. So you want to really remember that, because if you hit level 2, you know there's going to be a trend here. Today was a perfect example where we had level 1 bullish, we rejected that, and we broke down here, and then we later ripped up. If you look at my social media over here, I literally called out that we're going to be dumping right at my level 1 bullish, right at the open. This was time-stamped at 9:34, 4 minutes into the open. We had confirmed that we will be dumping at open. And to give you a little bit more confirmation as well, you can see that in my voice logs, so my voice logs is basically a transcribe of whatever I say or do, and this here is captured via AI. So once you're in my room, all my things that I say on voice is pretty much here. I mentioned that it's possible that we can say, go, if it hits level 1 bullish, does it die? It happens within the first 30 minutes, may consider to get puts. And that was 8:58 before the market had opened. I mentioned that I wanted puts there. For additional confirmation here, let's go through all our details. So I'll go over this with you guys as well. And you can see at this specific moment, beginning of the day, we got puts at 9:32, and pretty much we decided to sell our PLTR calls as well. So we took profits on those because we believe that there's weakness in the market. Apple puts, they did manage to come up, but we're still holding those. Apple's pretty much choppy, no idea if it works or not, but let's see what happens. So we took those 54.50 puts, and we also give our SPY traders this 543, which went to 1.2. So that was an additional dollar, more than 400% or 500% on that play in itself. That was an awesome scalp. And pretty much I even mentioned as well that it's possible that the 54.50 puts can go to 15 bucks. Okay, so we got the GS puts as well. And the GS puts, the reason why we got it is because of news of the massive guide down that the CEO did. Banks were looking weak. Okay, now at level 1 bullish, the key question that always remains is that how do you know to short it or to buy calls, because it's an inflection point? Well, if it happens within the first 30 minutes of the market open and you believe it's a chop range, what we had noticed as well is that you look at the heat map as confirmation. Okay, the heat map really helps you. So what we had noticed at level 1 was that banks were weak and techs were pretty much the key strength. So if banks or techs are either in the red and you start to see some bearish activity, you know that there's going to be some downside movement over here. So that's how we knew to buy puts right off the bat here, and that's why we decided to take, because banks were cratering and our puts literally banked, and we made more than 100%. So we got that right there. There's at one point where I mentioned that SPX 54.50 puts can go to 15, so that the members know ahead of time exactly where to look for and how far it can go based on the premium here. So staying 10 steps ahead of the market is going to be crucial in order for you to be successful. Okay, and that's one thing that we want to remember here as well. So let me see if where I put that. Give me one moment. Let's see, 54. And besides all that, we had another, we gave another awesome trades on bank puts. So we spoke a lot about that. If we go back into the details here, so let's go back. So this 54.50 puts, we gave that. We talked about how the market looked bearish here. So 1 second. A lot of new members in the room. Where can it go? Okay, yeah. So this is a point where we mentioned that it could go up 15 bucks. It literally stopped there, and that's how it was at 9.51. The main reason how we knew that at that time it could go there is because when you look at premiums, especially the downside puts, it's always a good idea to look at the high and the low of the day premium. At that specific time, the 54.50 puts were trading around $3, and it had a high date around 15, right? So it pretty much stopped there. That's how you knew that pretty much that would see more downside. So analyzing premiums is going to be key when it comes to trading. So back to our trades here, you can see that not only did we get SPX, but we also called out GS. Okay, so we got out of the GS, we took profits on our GS 450 puts at 2. So we got in at 2, and they actually went to, we played this multiple times. So the GS, we took profits at that. We took profits on SPX. We also took profits on GS 50%, and then we jumped in again as well. I mentioned to the room you can watch for a quick scalp at SPX 5450 is around 4 to 5 range. The reason why we mentioned that 4 to 5 range is if you look back into the premiums here on the 5450, you can kind of see that's where its midpoint was settling at, where if it bounced there at one specific at one point, once it hit that, it quickly went to 8. So if you guys want to scalp it, you had the opportunity as well. So it's always good to have that option premium chart to help you pretty much move forward here. Okay, so a lot of amazing plays were called here. We played GS 2 times, and we even waited for the GS play as well, because the GS, as soon as it hit that, so if we go on GS chart over here, if as soon as GS hit the WAP, we were already eyeing entry for our puts. Okay, so we got in at one time there, and we got in another time later on. Okay, so if we look at my personal trades, you can see that's all over here. So we pretty much got it twice, right? So we got that GS puts at 2.68. Initially we were planning to swing it, so we took profits here. We got in again, and we sold it for 60%. It went up 60%. We also took Ali puts, which was basically the main reason why banks were cratering. There's news that this stock is looking good. Is looking not so good, but pretty much cratering. So we had that. That was more than 140%. We took profits on that. We took profits on SPX. Now, one thing that happened today is I only had one field play, and I gave over 7-8 trades, was this SPX 5490 put F5. Now, the thing here is about, back to the account management issue, is that as time expires and as you have limited time, you do not want to jump into a play and risk all your profits. Okay, this one here, we only had 3 contracts. We had a $6,000 day. We put $1,000 in. It didn't end up working. So the reason for that is that the Bank of America CEO, the GS CEO guided down, but the Bank of America came out with a statement, and he pretty much gave a decent guide, and that's what caused the stock on Bank of America at around 12 o'clock to rip, right? And that's why SPX held my level 1 bearish at this point over here and started to recover, because the news came out, and that's what caused it. So besides that, we timed our another perfect trade where Tesla 230 call. I was initially planning to swing this, but I decided to sell it at a nice 30%. So at the end of the day, we ended up with $7,000 and some change net profits, and we pretty much called it a great day overall. We decided to add some swings as well, because we do see that banks may have more weakness as we go down during the day. Now, besides all that, if you're a small account player, we gave a lot of great small account plays, including Ali, Wells Fargo. So the opportunity is always there. But in order for you to stay 10 steps ahead of the market, you have to look at the industries that are weak. You have to know what's happening in the news, and you have to have your key levels in place. Reading option premiums is one thing, but risk management is another. So you need to have your focus on your risk management first and foremost. Second is your technicality ability, looking at the news, looking at the premiums, and analyzing what should work best. I know how to find inflection points in the premiums, and if you guys want these key setups in the morning calls, I discussed all of this. So I shared my morning call in today's social media post. Watch it over. You'll see that I gave the entire playbook of what's going to happen, and you can see here at the timestamp that my level 1 bullish is pretty much telling you that's going to be a chop range. Okay, this is how large the chop range was. It started here, bounced here, and ended off here. Okay, these levels are time-stamped, and if let's just say SPX hit over here, level 2 bearish, the trend is confirmed. So that's how you know exactly that you only want to focus on the downside, or if you do want to play the pop, you want to make sure that you sell it very quick. Okay, so that's the benefit of my room. I give you the tools, the information necessary to make the decisions 10 steps ahead. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and like always, let's get that money.